What's going on, everybody? This might be kind of weird for some of you that are like, what is this video about? So most of the time, these videos that I create where I go over every single stage that we do at a Tactical Games event. So I will go to a Tactical Games event, I will compete in the event, I'll come home, I'll film an after-action report talking about the event, explaining each stage, how I did, how I approached it, what would I change if I did it again, those kind of concepts. Most of the time I put those videos on a private Facebook group that I run that focuses on just the training for the Tactical Games. But today I decided, you know what? We're bringing the YouTube channel back. Let's put them on the YouTube channel so that a more larger general population can actually see the events, the stages, maybe understand it better. Maybe you're like, hey, I'd like to try it, but I have no idea. I don't know what I don't know. So we're gonna go over every single stage that we did at the previous event we just finished like 2 days ago out in South Carolina at GTI range. And yeah, so let's jump into it. So today we'll be talking about stage 1 and stage 2 on day 1. So how stage 1 worked, it was our long range stage, and then it went right into stage 2. So let me kind of briefly describe this real fast. So on the call of go, on the shot timer, you already loaded with your rifle, you're ready with your rifle on top of a building. You're probably on like, I don't know, the 5th story of a building pretty much. On the call of go, your time's gonna start for stage 1 and stage 2 at the first time, at the same time. Stage 1 is gonna be a long range rifle only stage on steel targets. Once you are done with stage 1, whether you cap out part-time, if you're a shooter, cap out if you're a CrossFitter. If you cap out on stage 1, or you finish stage 1, or you decide not to finish stage 1, which we'll explain in a second, then you start stage 2, but your time has already started for stage 2. So technically stage 2 is already kind of like, has stage 1 inside of it, if that makes sense. So on the call of go for stage 1, how that's gonna work, you're on top of this building. Here's my terrible drawing of targets. You're on top of this building on the call of go. You're gonna lay down, kneel down, whatever the case may be. You're kind of on top of a building on the 5th story, and there's, it's not like you can't just fall off the building. There's like a little ledge there, but so you can't see that, sorry, it's kind of low. The ledge is like a foot, maybe 18 inches tall, so it's a little too tall of a ledge to do prone and put your rifle on top. I think a majority of us sat in kind of a seated position with our legs crossed, put our rifle on top of the ledge and engage these targets. So what stage 1 was there was 10 steel targets at varying distances out there in a huge field, and you had to hit each steel target 1 time to neutralize it. And after you hit all 10 steel targets, time stopped. That was your time for that stage. You have a judge or an RO, range officer. If you're new here, you have an RO next to you calling hits on steel. He was not calling misses. He only calls hits on steel. So if you hit it, he goes hit, and you go on to the next target, right? So the distances, we'll talk about the distances for the targets. There's a first big batch here that was kind of at a similar distance pretty much, and that was around like 170 yards pretty much. Then you had one here that was at 200 yards. You had 2 here that were approximately 300 yards. And then you had one at I think it was 520 or something like that. 520 yards. So, now you can engage these targets in any direction, any random sequence you want to engage. I think a majority of us, how we engaged it was we took these targets left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's how, at least how I engaged it. That's how I saw a majority of people engage it. You could engage it, obviously, longest to shortest, and then come back. That's fine too. I just think, hey, you're getting to a position, get some easy shots off, and then work forward. The par time for this is 2 minutes. So what does a par time mean? Par time means you only have 2 minutes to shoot these shots. If at the 2 minutes you are done, you haven't shot them all, time stops, and then you had penalties added. So what are the penalties? Anything that is 200 yards or less, so pretty much this grouping right here, is 10 seconds added to your time. So if I cap out at 2 minutes, and let's say I shot every single target except for this one, then I have, my time is now 2 minutes and 10 seconds, right? That's my time for that stage. If I missed 3 of them, if I hit everything here but missed 3 of them, then my par time is gonna be 2:30. So these targets are 10 seconds penalty. The rest of them are gonna be 20 seconds. So anything greater than 200 yards is going to be a 20-second penalty. So let's say I hit all my easy shots and I missed this one and this one, or I couldn't neutralize them, couldn't hit them for some reason. Then my time is, at the time when I'm done, is going to be 2 minutes and 40 seconds. As soon as you are done shooting your shots, let's say it takes you 40 seconds to shoot them all. You know, let's say you get them all done in 40 seconds. You can immediately clear your rifle and then start stage 2, which was a run. And so you don't have to stay there for the full 2 minutes. When you're done, you're done. So let's talk about how I did it. Badly. I will say I did terrible. Let's talk about how I did it, and then we'll go into what the how the best person did it, or what he accomplished. So I approached it, sat down. These shots were very simple shots, right? Those are not very hard. We're talking, you know, they were 4 to 5 MOA size targets. If you're curious about that, that makes sense to you. This one was a 16 by 16 inch plate. So that makes it about a 5 MOA target. I'm sorry, a 3 MOA target. It's a 3 MOA size target out there at 520 yards. I did not neutralize this target. I shot all these, very simple, engaged this about 4 to 5 times, and then decided I am nowhere near it. I'm not even seeing my impacts around the 520 yard target to adjust for it, whether it be wind or my elevation's off. So because I can't see my rounds impacting, I'm out. I'm just gonna take the penalty and leave. So how that works is, if you take an adequate amount of shots on the target, meaning you just can't be like, oh, I try to shoot the target, I'm gonna leave. You can actually call time for yourself and say, hey, time, I'm done. I'm gonna take the 20-second penalty. Whatever time I'm at that point, I'll take it, plus I know I'll get the penalty. And so that's what I did. So I called my time at 60 seconds. At 60 seconds, I knew, like, I've tried to engage this like 4 to 5 times, I'm not gonna hit it. Time, and then I know that my final time, of course, is 80 seconds, because I'm gonna take that 20-second penalty. I just knew that I could sit there for another minute, you know, and maybe try to take shots out of it, but if I don't hit it, now my time is 2:20, which is ultimately quite a bit worse. So, terrible job. Why did I not hit it? Brief explanation is, I suck, no. brief explanation is, and this is not an excuse, I have not trued my rifle to my ballistic calculator yet, meaning I have zeroed my rifle. It's zeroed at 200 yards. I know my holds, well, no, I don't know my holds at 500 yards. It's not true. I have zeroed my rifle at 200 yards. I have not trued my rifle to my ballistic calculator. So I use my ballistic calculator to say, okay, I know where I need to aim on my reticle to hold for this target at 520 yards. And when I shot it, it was nowhere near it. Come to find out, when I came back from my stage 2, and they were like, hey, where you were impacting, why you couldn't see it, was you were shooting, the rounds were dropping like 20 yards in front of the target. So my elevation, my wind was right, my elevation was not correct. And so now I need to make sure that my ballistic calculator that I use on my app matches up with my rifle itself. So I'm gonna do that this weekend. Not an excuse, just something I have not done yet. So I'm glad I made the mistake now so I can fix it. The guy who won this event did it in 34 seconds. Shout out to John. He runs a company called Sun Shadow. He's also a really good long-range shooter. If you're interested in some more information, he puts out a lot of good information from his channel. So that was stage 1. After stage 1 is done, whether you shot it and hit all the targets like John did, or you timed out like some people did, or you decided, I suck, I'm just gonna take my losses, lick my wounds, and leave, like I did, then you leave. You're gonna stage, you left this spot, you staged your rifle against the wall, and then you went on a run. We were essentially inside this huge building, and we had to run through this huge building, and at increments throughout this run, which I think ended up being about 0.7 miles of distance, on increments throughout this 0.7 mile run, there was big blue 50-gallon drums. You probably might see them in the frame. I'm not sure, I have some here. Big 50-gallon drums, blue ones. On it was a laminated piece of paper. Your athlete number was on there. My athlete number was 25, and on each drum was a word, and you had to go to that drum, look at that word, remember that word. It was a sequence, so there was 5 drums that make a 5-phrase sequence, and then when you got done, you ran all the way back through the course, and you came back in and took your final time, you had to give that sequence or that phrase, that 5-word phrase, to the judge. Hey, this is my phrase, you know, I see dead people, or whatever. That's 4 words, but whatever. I see dead people, and they say, yep, you're good, and then they take your time down. The reason for that being is that way they don't have to have judges on the course to know you ran it correctly, and you weren't unsportsmanlike, you ran the whole course because you got all the phrases. You know, of course, if I guess you could hypothetically, like, maybe guess the phrase by getting the 3rd or 4th word, guess the 5th one, just leave, but that wasn't going to happen. We were running through a large building. I believe it was a decommissioned nuclear silo plant, whatever. It was really complicated running through that thing. You weren't really running fast. You were kind of jogging through it, sprinting on long stretches, but jogging through the majority of it. So essentially for stage 1, I took 4th overall. I'm sorry, not 4th overall. I took 4th in men's elite, okay, which is my division. And then in the running stage, so it would have been stage 2, I took 1st in men's elite. And I think I actually took 1st overall in that stage because it was a running stage. I wouldn't say it was that much running. You can't really run that hard in 0.7 miles. You were looking at barrels, you were just jogging around corners, you were going up and down stairs. But anyways, fun first stage, fun first couple stages. That was the first one we started with. That was stage 1 and stage 2. Next up is stage 3.